Hello. I'm so glad that you tuned in today to join us. We're up here at Markham and Wallace Memorial Hospital in Irvine, Kentucky. Michelle just got finished going to therapy this morning, and we're going to go on a little drive to Fitchburg Furnace here in Estill County. And we're going to take you with us along the way so you can see how to get there for yourself. We'll be going up River Drive and on up to Cobb Hill and down to Alters Gate Camp, and then we'll see Fitchburg Furnace. So without further ado, let's get on our way. I'm actually going to turn off the air and roll down the windows because it is a beautiful fall day. It is just gorgeous. This house on the right is where our former band director Randy Webb used to live. In this field here, we used to stand there and play in the band when we were warming up right next to his house. And that church over there, we've had band concerts in front of that church, especially during Christmas time. I've seen some of my very good friends get married in that church. Looky there at that Christmas tree. They're already decorating for Christmas. It's not even October yet, is it, baby?
No, it's still September.
This here is River Drive, and when you're a teenager and you grow up in Estill County, cruising River Drive is the thing to do. Just go up and down it. ready to be in Ravenna, and the only reason Ravenna exists is because of the railroad. Because the railroad wanted to come through Irvine, and Irvine said, not through our town, you're not. And they said, well, that's fine, we'll just build our own town and go through it. So they built Ravenna.
We're now in Ravenna. My dad, every time he'd go through this little bridge, he'd honk his horn, and that's what I do because he used to do it. It's just kind of a tradition. The road we are on now is called Miller's Creek. Kentucky River on our right. Right here on the right, you'll see the American Legion. That's where the Boy Scouts in Estill County meet up every year and put flags on the veterans' graves. I think that's a very good thing that they do. no houses, no business, no nothing, just open land. As far as I can see is that this land gets flooded all the time. So that's probably why nobody builds out through here. Back behind me, up on the hill, beside that house, is a graveyard. And you have to turn your head and look behind yourself to see it. But we've done passed it, honey. But anyway, that's one of the oldest cemeteries in Estill County. Boy, look at how beautiful them round bales of hay are. Gorgeous. I want to give a shout out to my cousin, little Sean Richardson. I seen his picture on Facebook this week, and he was running a tractor and rolling hay, and his dad put on there that he was very proud of him, of the man he is becoming. And I just want to throw that out there that I'm proud of him too. See how I straddled that pop can, honey?
No, I was busy watching the camera. Trying to keep it between the navigational beacons of the roof and the dash.
up on our turn. If you keep going straight, it'll take you up Cobb Hill, but we're turning towards the Furnace and Aldersgate Camp. If you make this trip, I suggest you go slowly on this road because I've seen a lot of things on this road. I've seen four-wheelers and people riding horseback. So you never know what could be ahead. Aldersgate camp. Here we are at Fitchburg Furnace. See what this sign over here tells us about it. Welcome to what was once the Fitchburg Furnace community, a bustling settlement that made its living from the iron and wood resources of these mountains. Fitchburg had mills, shops, and homes for more than 100 families, all engaged in the smelting of iron ore. Fitchburg Furnace, reputedly the largest of its type in the world, was designed by Fred Finch and construction was completed by Sam Worthley in 1869, known as the Red River Furnace. This structure represents the first attempt at improved furnace construction in this region. The twin stacks, named Blackstone and Chandler, were built in a solid rectangular mass of sandstone with a 40 by 80 foot base and 60 feet high. The stacks are 50 feet high and 12.5 feet across inside. The furnace used a steam-powered air blast and charcoal for fuel. The combined stacks had a capacity of 25 tons of pig iron per day, producing over 16,000 tons before it closed down in 1873. The cost of the furnace without machinery and steam engines was over $100,000, while the machinery and fittings brought the total cost to nearly $160,000. The Fitchburg Furnace flourished only briefly and began a swift decline during the Great Financial Panic of 1873. By over-speculation in Western railroads, since most of the iron smelted in this furnace was for the production of car wheels and rails for railroad construction, production slowed down for the lack of markets. The final blow, however, was the discovery of the rich iron ore beds in the Birmingham district of Alabama. Since this ore was of better quality and much more easily accessible than this area, competition was impractical, spelling the death of the local iron industry. Little by little, the fires in the old furnace flickered out, never to blaze again, thus writing the final entry in the journal of the iron-making industry at Fitchburg. Fitchburg Furnace, once the scene of a bustling iron industry, now stands silent. Where long ago fire belched out of the stone chimneys, moss has now taken root. The shouts of the iron workers have given way to the cries of birds and insects. The old furnace had its day and then faded into long years of oblivion, awakening as a modern-day attraction. The U.S. Forest Service acquired the Fitchburg Furnace on April 6, 1973, as a donation from Joyce Russell Broadus and Tosca Russell Middleton. On April 17, 1974, the Fitchburg Furnace was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It is hoped that you will enjoy the interpretive trail to the left, which has several stops giving additional details concerning the operation of the Fitchburg furnace. See, each furnace operation was normally a self-contained community known as an iron plantation, under the direction of an iron master, usually the owner. Under his direction, several types of skilled laborers took part in the overall operation. Miners dug the raw iron ore from the local sandstone formations. Limestone was quarried from local outcrops, and charcoal was produced from the abundant nearby timber resources to complete the charge necessary to produce quality iron. While most of these activities took place away from the furnace, they were an integral part of the furnace operation. At the furnace itself, smelters were the skilled workmen who cast the iron. Potters made the small castings after the molten iron had run out of the furnace, while guttermen had charge of the sand molds. Other laborers, often slaves, were the fillers who carried or wheeled the heavy baskets of ore, limestone, and charcoal to the furnace top. When a furnace had been erected and was ready to be blown in or go into production, a large wood fire was built in the stack. This was replenished from time to time until the furnace was completely dried out. When the furnace had been thoroughly heated by the fire in the hearth, it was ready for the first charge. All the furnaces in this area were operated by steam, being known as quarter furnaces, and when in operation used a cold blast. The iron in the form of pigs was hauled by tramroad to the Kentucky River, where they were shipped on flatboats to iron manufacturing plants at Cincinnati and other places. Like the other iron furnaces in this area, most of the iron from this furnace was used in the production of railroad car wheels and rails as the railroads expanded across the country. However, over speculation and the new ore beds in Alabama brought the iron industry in Kentucky to a standstill. After an investment of about $1.5 million in lands, furnaces, buildings, dwelling houses, tramways, roads, and other improvements, the property passed into other hands, leaving a clear loss of over $1 million to the stockholders. It's been a while since I've come up here, and all that pretty rock you've seen there, this is new. They've done some work here because it was all mud before, you know. Let's see here. The casting house was a wooden shed which covered the sand molds where the iron was run. Note the depressions in the stone directly above the archway, which probably held the roof of the shed. Long trenches sloping gradually from the front of the furnace were made of molding sand with enough clay to permit their being molded to the desired shape. When the iron was ready to be drawn, a worker with long-handled tongs would grasp the clay, plug in the dam stone, and with a skilled twist removed it. The molten metal shot out of the opening filling the main feeder trench. As this trench filled, guttermen diverted the molten iron into side trenches, forming a series of bars from 4 to 6 feet long and from 60 to 250 pounds each. Bars from the main trench were sows, while bars from the were pigs, hence the term pig iron. Well, go up this other side. I'm taking my time coming out here because it feels a little steep. Give her fire. This cry rang through the woods as colliers tended huge piles of charring wood, which would be used as fuel at Fitchburg furnace. Colliers, men who made charcoal, built many coal pits or earths throughout the mountains during the summer months. A gaster collier and 1 or 2 helpers might work 7 to 9 pits at a time. Once fired, they had to be tended day and night so that the wood would not ignite and burn completely away. The trees marked with orange bands contain about 3 cords of wood, which makes enough charcoal to fire the furnace for 2 hours, long enough to produce about 1 cubic foot of pig iron. During the summer, the furnace ran continuously, requiring 30 to 40 cords of wood from 25 to 30-year-old growth per day. Some furnaces consumed the yield of an acre of woodland a day. Clear cutting went on year-round to provide enough wood for the charring season. They got nice picnic tables. It's a very user-friendly park, place to come to. These few loose stones are all that is left of the charcoal house. It was here that the fuel used by the furnace was stored. Charcoal, fresh from the charring hearths and still warm, was hauled in iron-lined wagons to an open shed. Only when it had cooled completely was it moved into the charcoal house for storage. Charcoal was an ideal fuel, being almost free of sulfur and its ash, consisting largely of lime and alkalies, supplied part of the necessary flux. An average furnace would consume from 600 to 800 bushels of charcoal every 24 hours. The average consumption of charcoal per ton of iron was 231 and 204 bushels for Chandler and Blackstone, respectively, over a 4-year period. From this high ground, called a furnace bank, a bridge was built to the furnace stack. By this means, the charge could be brought to the loading platform near the opening of the stack. Workers called fillers carried the iron ore, charcoal, and limestone across the bridge, dumping their loads into the stack. Note the materials in the charge: iron ore, charcoal, and limestone to flux the iron of its impurities. It has been estimated that it took 3 tons of iron ore and 179 bushels of charcoal to make 1 ton of pig iron. The usual charge was made up of 100 pounds of iron ore, 40 pounds of limestone, and 6 bushels of charcoal combined in the proper proportions. The furnace in full blast remained filled at all times. Iron ore was mined from Thacker Ridge and Cobb Mountain. The ore was piled in this area until it was needed for the furnace. According to old records, the ore was worth about 25 cents per ton in the bench undug. Wages for digging the ore varied according to location and facilities, but averaged about $2 per ton. The principal ore used in the Fitchburg furnace was limonite, which is usually found above St. Louis limestone formations and is known as limestone ore. There is usually a considerable thickness of fine white shell and clay above the ore. The limestone ore was the most valuable because it was easily smelted and produced a better grade of iron.
Once the charge was added, it was time for the blast. The steam blast hissed through the blast pipe into the nozzle that penetrated the upper part of the hearth, and then roared as it expanded with the heat. Due to the intense heat, 2,000 to 3,000 degrees, the oxygen in the ore began to combine with the charcoal, leaving the iron to settle in a more or less pure state. The iron and the slag settled in the hearth, the heavier iron on the bottom, while the slag floated on top. The slag spilled over a dam on the side of the furnace and was directed into a pit or hollow. The molten iron was held back by a stone dam in the face of the hearth until the iron was ready to be drawn into the casting shed. Wow. Well, there you have it, folks. We came and we saw, we devoured these signs, and now it's time to go back to the house. But I hope you enjoyed this video of our journey to Fitchburg Furnace, and maybe you can come out here and enjoy it for yourself sometime. Talk to you later. Bye.